Here's another bonus tip. One of the things that Bucky Fuller once said, he said, words are tools, the most powerful tool known to mankind. The words that you use have an effect on your body, mind, spirit, and emotion. So be careful with the words that you use for yourself. I met a young fellow very recently who kept telling himself that he was old. He kept telling himself he was old, although he looked young and fit. And what I told this gentleman is this, is that the more you tell your subconscious that you're old, your body will believe it because it doesn't know the difference. You've got to be careful of the words you use and the words that other people use with you. Think about it. Have you ever had somebody use a word that hurt you? Just one word. That's how powerful the tool is. The word can be used to create poetry. It can also be used to hurt somebody. So be careful of the words that you use when describing yourself and working with others, and you'll become more real in your presence. Now, I mentioned before in the last chapter, you want to get clear on what you're really good at. And the way you get clear on what you're really good at is you can hire a consultant to help you with that, but I'm going to teach you how to be your own consultant. You want to learn how to do that? And the way you learn how to do this is a very simple process called creating a life map. A life map. So if you just take a look, this is how you would create a life map. What you do is draw a timeline. Just draw a timeline. You could start at getting out of high school is kind of when I do it, and then up to present time. Or you can go back further if you like. Either way. At the top, everything up here is positive things that happen in your life. Down here are the negative things that happen in your life. And all I would ask you to do is make a little map of your life as best as you can think. Now, the way you do this is by, first of all, plotting some points somewhat in chronological order, and whether they're positive and negative, and placing them on the map. So, for example, for me, at first I went to Ohio State University, I had a great time in college. That was great. Then I moved to Hawaii, wonderful place. That was even better. I became #1 in sales. That was awesome. And got married. That was fantastic. And then, boom, divorce. After a year and a half, it was a horrible divorce. I'm not going to go into it right now. I felt like I had my heart ripped out of my chest cavity. It was one of the worst experiences of my entire life. I don't recall ever being so depressed. So I spent a lot of time healing by sailing because I love to sail, became a competitor, raced Prindle catamarans in Hawaii, had a sailboat store, took my first personal development course. And when I really realized what was going on for me was happening because of me, my life got even better. And I actually started to teach that course. I became a teacher, and it felt like when I was in front of the room, it was one of the most invigorating things I could do. Then I moved to Los Angeles, which is a little bit of a downer, and got engaged to another beautiful woman, and that engagement broke up. I mean, I had the way that engagement broke up, I had to kick the door in of my own apartment to find her in bed with one of my friends. So you don't even want to hear that story. That was a low point in my life. So I buried myself in my business and building my air freight trucking business, and it became very strong, and we had some lumps along the way, and we turned it around and became successful, one of the fastest growing air freight trucking operations of its kind. And then people started asking me, how did you do that? So I started teaching it. So I had business success, I'm teaching, and I'm actually going to Australia and teaching it. And then we had orchestrated the sale of that business, and then it crashed. That was a very, very low point when I had to actually bankrupt a business. But right in the heels of that horrible experience, I met the love of my life. A person who trusted me for who I was, loved me no matter what, the fact that I was broke. I remember going out to dinner with her and when I was completely broke and said, I'm broke, but I'll tell you what, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And she said, don't worry, Blair, we will make it work. Key word, we. And at that point, my life took off again. We got married, moved to Lake Tahoe, started handling the debt, started teaching around the world. I could go on and on and on, franchise all over the world, doing what I love to do. This is called a life map. And what I ask you to do is do the same thing and then connect the dots. Why? Because watch this. If you notice and you start circling your high points, what's in common? Circle the low points. What's in common? What's in common is when I'm teaching and selling and in great relationship, I am ecstatic. Everything works in my life. What do you see down here? I'm not that good at partnerships. When it comes to partnerships, whether they be in love or marriage or business, I still have a lot to learn. That's something I need to work on, and I continue to work on it. but I know what I'm good at. If somebody asks me about accounting and doing tax work, I'm not going to get in that conversation because I'm not good at it. But when we're going to talk about sales and learning and teaching, changing your little voice, pulling teams together, I can see on this map that when I'm in those arenas, I'm doing my best work. You do the same thing, because you know what you're going to find? You're going to find that there is a pattern to your life. There's a pattern to your life that's already telling you what you're good at, what you should be doing. And if your little voice goes, yeah, how are you going to make money doing that? Who's going to pay any attention to that? That's your delusion. Tell it to shut up and go away, because that's where dreams come from. All your life, you've been training for a moment. You've been training for a time in your life to be who you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to be doing. Control of the little voice and being able to be real in the process and seeing the pattern of your life, the rest of your life should be going this way continually. So do this exercise, take the time to do it, explain it to somebody else, and just notice the reaction that you have to it. Feel proud about yourself. That's your life. It's a great one. And all along the way, the universe, the Great Spirit, or whatever, is giving you a message of who you're supposed to be, what you're great at, and what you're supposed to be doing.